In studio with us now, new president of the Houston Texans, Mike Tomon, joining us. Mike, great to have you with us. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're going to get to know you, and we'll get into your background. Johnny's already broken down all the Georgetown football tapes. So we'll do that part later.
60 seconds?
Well, it was a lot longer than mine, so you're good.
So let's get into this, though. What attracted you to this opportunity? The Houston Texans, here you are. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it was a great process for me to go through to really get to know this opportunity. I think thought about it in a few different ways. First was the NFL. I think the health of the NFL as a league on a global stage could not be stronger. And so when you look towards where the league's going in the future, it's pretty exciting. You know, I think the game not only here but globally. So that was certainly appealing. I think the other side was really understanding ownership. You know, I've been in sports and entertainment for almost 25 years at this point. And I've been fortunate enough to be a number of different places. And one thing that I can say sitting in front of you today that is extremely important is ownership. You know, you can't underestimate the value of having good ownership. And so I had the chance to get to know Cal and Hannah both, and certainly was very aware of Bob and Janice's legacy as well. And having the opportunity to sit in front of them and see how genuinely they cared about the team, the city, and have these big aspirations for what it can be in the future, that gave me goosebumps. That was special. And so I looked at that. I was like, okay, you have the league, you have the right ownership, and then you start looking at the team. Team is in a great spot, you know, certainly fun to watch, but, you know, really in a position where you have these cornerstones to keep building with Nick and Coach and the offense with CJ's leadership, certainly a stout defense. Feel really good about the team on the field. And then you really start thinking about, okay, well, where's all this happening? You know, where is this all going to happen? And had a chance to really look at Houston. Houston as a market, you really look at it as truly an international city, a world-class city. And what makes Houston so unique is it has all that global appeal in a very humble manner. You know, you have such a great base. And then I drilled down into the fan base. And from a distance, before accepting the job, you know, it's just a great reputation of what the Texans fan base brings to the table. You know, you have a younger fan base when you put it up towards the rest of the NFL, but you have such a deep history in football in this city. And I look at both those things as, gosh, look where it is right now. And ultimately, you weigh all that together, look where it will be. And so, to me, this was a pretty easy decision. You know, I felt really fortunate to have the opportunity. And it was one that I don't see any executive that wouldn't run to this thing when you kind of look at it through that lens.
Mike, you talked about being in sports business for about 25 years. Now you're on a team side as opposed to maybe working for an organization where maybe you work with other teams and organization. I don't know if you've been here long enough to be able to kind of tell the difference between being on that side. We used to talk about in public accounting. There were people that worked as accountants for a business, and there were ones that worked in public accounting when they were auditors. Is that kind of the same for you? Like now you're working for a company, now you're working for a team. Is there any difference that you see in that?
Well, yes, there is. I think the unique place, the fortunate place that I sit in is I have the vantage point from both. And so I started off my career on the team side. Yeah. I was predominantly in the NBA, but fortunate enough to touch a number of different sports. And living on the team side, you understand the seasonality, the cadence. Really, one of the things that I really missed was the passion.
Yeah.
You know, the passion in your individual team. Everything that you do is pushing towards making that better.
Right.
And then, you know, I spent call it the second half of my career thus far on that agency side. Right. I can't remember what accountant you were comparing that to. Never had that analogy, but
it's okay.
But when I look at having the ability to also see the sports industry more from a platform standpoint, it was one of those things where it was like, gosh, you have both vantage points and you can put them to use here in this situation here in Houston.
Absolutely.
You were co-president of Legends, so you worked on SoFi, Allegiant Stadium, you worked on the Star. What didn't you work on? So how did that experience help what you're going to do here?
I think what that allowed me to do was see major processes that can be transformative. What organizations can do to optimize them and make the most of them. And it gave me the opportunity to see a number of different best practices. And candidly, I got to see some mistakes too. Okay. And so you have the ability to bring all that here and channel all that into one focus, which is growing the Texans fan base and business.
Cool.
Along those lines, Mike, and I know there was an article that came out of Chronicle about stadium versus renovation and all those kind of things, and obviously people connecting the dots with your experience with stadiums and all that. I'll ask this question, whether you want to get into what's going to happen or not, but the value of having a stadium like Allegiant, like SoFi, what does that kind of afford the organization, its fans, when you put in a new stadium like that? What kind of experiences do they draw upon and what they get out of getting a new stadium or something of that ilk?
Well, I think just to clarify, our focus right now, we're looking at all options.
Right.
Our lease is up in 7 years. So, the prudent thing is to start understanding how you can best position the organization and the fan base in the future. So you start you start those things now. And our focus has been on renovation, focused in on NRG and renovating the stadium to make it a world-class experience. We have world-class fans. We want to show off the city of Houston. We want to have a huge competitive advantage for the team on the field when you come here. And to do that, those are drivers in how we're looking at this renovation and where we want to take NRG. My experience is on both sides. New builds, you named a number of them, but also significant renovations as well. I was fortunate enough to spend a good amount of time on the renovation in Madrid, Spain, for Real Madrid. They did close to $800 million renovation of the Bernabéu. And when you look at those things, it really forces you to prioritize what is important. And for us, fan experience is at the top of that heap. How do you make sure, as I said, this is a great place for Texans fans to come and stay? This is a great place to show off to the rest of the world. Right. And this is a great place for home advantage for our team. So those are some of the things that really kind of drive in that decision. And, being in those past projects, you get to see some best practices and you get to see some mistakes. Sure. So we'll be able to bring that to the table.
Yep.
We get this question from the listeners, viewers all the time. So I'm going to ask you, renovation, people come to NRG Stadium, and I always thought this stadium was great place to watch a game. The sight lines are amazing, and we go to every stadium, so we see that. But when you say renovation, can you give some examples of what that could possibly look like in the future?
Well, I'll stay at a high level because there's a lot of detail to be flushed out and a lot of work yet to do to get to a crystallized vision. But I think one of the pieces is infrastructure. You think about how do you make the building itself easier to operate, and that has an impact on a number of different ways. How many shows you can have come in, how easy it is to get into the building, how easy it is to get to your seat. There's a lot of operational push that goes through buildings. And where you look at buildings these days, this is the stuff the fans don't see, but they feel. There are a lot of buildings that, as you get more experience, you get smarter in the sports industry. And so buildings are coming out and they're more efficient, which is affording really better experiences overall to the fan base and those who come to the stadium. That's one big focus on a renovation. How do you do that with a building that'll ultimately be 30 years old at that point? I think the other side is really the fan experience. How do you make sure we are offering the best the sports industry, really the globe, has to offer our fans? And again, there are other experiences that are out there that you think about that make it easier to come to the stadium earlier. It makes it more appealing for fans, families, and businesses to come to the stadium earlier, stay longer. It's really about having specialized opportunities that speak to what the different fans want and how they use it. How do you go through and make sure you're relevant to everyone that comes through? And it's simple things like how quickly can you get from the bathroom to your food back to your seat? You know, how can you stay in touch with all the plays that are going on at the field real time while you're having this experience? So those are all drivers. You know, we really think about those who are fans, just hardcore fans who want to enjoy everything the Texans have to bring and be drenched in that experience. We think about those who want to bring their families out. You know, this is a great place to bring families. This is a place we want generations of Houstonians to be for a very long time. And so how do you make it very easy for them to do that? And then you think about our great business community. What are the different ways that they like to entertain and they want to grow their business? Do we have all the products that can support, you know, their wants and needs on that front? So at a real high level, kind of think about infrastructure and overall experience.
Mike, you mentioned earlier about coming here to Houston. Did you have any previous experience with the city of Houston, with the Texans before? Was there anything at all that kind of drew you even more to Houston? Or was this kind of, boy, I've never really been to Houston. I don't know a lot about it. What have been kind of your first impressions of Houston? I know you haven't been here long. What are kind of your first impressions of being here? But how did you really get here, and what did you think about Houston before you got here?
So I have had experience with Houston. I mean, Houston, you know, it's a top 5 major city in the U.S. So certainly have been here before, have seen Houston showcase itself through all-star games or other major events, and certainly enjoyed the city when I was here. You know, I think one of the unique things I've always walked away with is it is such a large city, but the people don't feel that way. It's very inviting. It's a very warm culture, and that always stuck with me. You know, I think as I got closer to it, I got into the stats. I was like, wow, look at that metric. Look at that attribute. Look at that attribute. Yeah. Greatly diverse city, such a healthy business community, as I mentioned, international appeal, and uniquely Houston, uniquely Texas. So those pieces I knew from I guess what you would call a distance. Yeah. An admirer from a distance.
Absolutely.
Living here now over the last handful of weeks, it's kind of like putting exclamation points behind it. Had an opportunity to go and spend some time with our fan council and meet some of our fans the other night, and I couldn't have been more excited. It was like I'm ready for the season right now after having a chance to speak with them. It is just such a passionate fan base, and that's such a special thing. On so many levels. And so while I knew there was a great fan base, having the ability to actually meet some of our fans, I mean, that was really impactful.
Yeah. Man, we could talk for days, but a little bit on your background. You're from the Cleveland area, right?
That's right.
And we have at least 4 coaches and or football personnel members who are from there and went to John Carroll. But you did not, Mike. Why didn't you go to John Carroll?
We were so glad that you went to Georgetown and not John Carroll. Connect all those links.
I did. I don't know. I now sitting here, I guess I should have rethought that.
Now, Georgetown, unbelievably great school, of course. And you played football there.
I did. I was fortunate enough to play 4 years there. It's a great program, great alumni base. I am forever fortunate to have been a Hoya on that side. But, you know, I'll tell you, I was talking with Nick and when we first met, and it was one of those, hey, you know, it all kind of comes back to Cleveland. Yep. Yeah. So that was another piece where it felt really, really great about it. Just knowing the background that a lot of those guys come from. It's a heavy football culture. And while certainly we have very warm people here in Houston, I like to say the people in Cleveland are warm too. Weather's not warm, but the people are.
How did playing a college sport or just playing sports in general affect you going forward? Now that you can look back a little bit and go, man, okay, football is sort of shaped. I know it's shaped the way that I am. It's everything that I do, everything I know. How did it shape it for you, Mike?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I completely agree. Football was so impactful and left such an imprint on me from a young age. I certainly always wanted to be in the NFL. So like from a professional aspiration, wanted to be in the NFL. I'm glad I'm sitting down, but if I were to stand up, you're like, okay, you were never going to play in the NFL. But certainly it was always a pursuit of mine. Yeah. But, the ability, it was just, it's a real gift to be able to play the sport. Yeah. And having the ability to play in college, I look back at it, and I look back at it even more fondly because of certainly all the discipline it gives you, the idea of team, how you work together in a team atmosphere, make sure you can contribute wherever you can. Period. Next sentence, always staying focused on the team. Yep. And those are great things in our business. I think, when you look at great business organizations, they're aligned, they know their goals, they know how they contribute, and it is truly about the organization or the team. And so easily draw that from my experiences in college.
Yep. I've got one more business-related question. So you're a global thinker, obviously, and worked all around the world. And here's the NFL playing more international games than ever. And the Texans have been out of the country twice to play games, and I'm sure there's something coming in the future. Whenever it is, we don't know yet. But tell us about your take on that, on the NFL going global, because you've been involved when you're working with Real Madrid and even the NBA and some of these other sports. They have that presence. The NFL is really making a lot of inroads.
They are. I think the expansion, the games overseas or abroad, have really started to gain some traction. This is a longer play, so it's not like you're going to do 2 or 3 things and then all of a sudden you're a global team. It doesn't work that way. But where the NFL has positioned the teams to start engaging and making other fans of sport aware, and then walking them through that kind of nurturing process to true fandom is great. And I think when you think about the Texans, there are so many things that people are attracted to about the team and the organization that truly, I think go beyond boundaries, go beyond borders. And those things are what we really want to drive forward and put forth in front of the right regions. And so we're excited about where the game is going globally, and we're focused in on how we expand our reach, certainly regionally first, and then globally.
I remember I was driving the Senior Bowl, Mike, when I heard you got the job, and I remember just as I was driving, I thought, God, what's the first thing he's going to do? So I ask it, presidents always ask, hey, first 100 days, you're going to do this. First couple months that you're in the building, what did you want to accomplish right away, setting you up for further stuff down the road?
The first piece, and this was one of the things that really attracted me to the opportunity, sitting with Cal and Hannah, and what they put forth on the importance on culture. There's a lot of things, a lot of big transformative opportunities we talked about. Yeah. But the first priority, which I asked, I was like, what's the priority from your mind's eye? And it was their people, and it was the culture. And so that's where I'm focused right now. Yeah. I've had an opportunity to sit with a number of our different charge leaders, our business leaders. I'm still doing that. I'm sitting with the different teams. But that is my main focus right now. Yeah. We implemented some vibe. Earlier, which, the point is like, hey, this isn't an accounting firm, right?
Yeah,
this is
right about that.
You're coming to a really, really special place in sports and entertainment in the NFL, and so that vibe should be all over. And so we have walk-in music now when you're walking into the office, because this should feel a little different because it is different. Yeah. So really the people, and then that's, I don't know if I'll be able to hang my hat on putting music around the organization, but that's an early step.
All right, since you brought it up, couple of quick ones here. Music. Oh, yeah. Give us a couple of your faves, not maybe your ultimate favorite, but 2 or 3 of your favorite artists.
Oh man, I'm pretty eclectic. Okay. I love music. I don't have a musical bone in my body, just for clarity, not one. But I love listening. I grew up listening to music, all types of music. So I range. I will go from, I think about, my days in the weight room, which was a lot of more heavy metal to hardcore rap. And then, I think as I mellow out, I'm over the last couple decades more into country. But I range everything from rock to rap, hip hop, country, jazz, soul. Recency bias. I just got out of the car. I was rocking out probably too loud to the Doobie Brothers. So.
Very nice. Very nice. That's my era. Very nice.
I will tell you this, though. I had my own walk-up music for the last time, as you know, addressing our organization, our business ops. And Sunil, who's one of our leaders on the legal side, is also our
DJ.
Our DJ.
Yes.
And so,
wait a second, Sunil's the DJ?
He is.
Yeah, he has to defend his title, but yes,
that's right.
He is.
Make him do that every week.
And he chose Enter Sandman for me. So maybe that was the vibe I was giving off.
Well, not really, because you don't want to put people to sleep.
Yeah, no, but it gets them fired up.
But I mean, the song itself.
The closer comes in to Enter
juice.
Sandman.
Like, I get that.
Do you know the song?
Oh, yeah, I know the song.
I don't know.
Of course I know the
sleep
song.
to that song.
Well, I mean, that's what Enter Sandman means.
No, it's not the meaning.
Of the song.
It's not the meaning.
I mean, Virginia Tech didn't take the song as its own because they were putting people to sleep. But I'm just thinking,
that's
the
exactly
meaning of the
right.
song. That's all I'm saying.
It is a Hokie thing, not a Hoya thing.
That's exactly
and I know
right.
what a Hoya means, by the way. I think it was from an old shear, right? The Hoyas, and then it just became
Keep going.
Hoya Saxa, is that it?
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't know, I get lost after that. But it's a Greek thing, right?
Yeah, it means what rocks. Like they're strong like rocks.
You'd think I would know this, being who I am. So, all right, this is the most important question. We'll leave you with this.
I know where this is going.
Tex-Mex or Texas barbecue? You got to pick one, and you got to put the other on waivers. What's it going to be, Mike?
Waivers, like you don't get it?
Don't get it at all.
Just for now. I don't know, just for sake of conversation. What's your
Can I
preference?
give some context?
Sure.
So I would go barbecue. My wife would go Tex-Mex.
Oh, so here's
So
the
I'm going to go
decision.
Tex-Mex.
Very good decision.
Smart. Very smart. Okay. You don't eat like Nick does, do you?
Well, you know what? I don't know if I know his eating habits as well enough.
The fact that you picked barbecue and didn't hesitate, that's good, because that question of Tex-Mex or barbecue put Nick in a pretzel.
Nick's going Italian.
Probably.
Well, as his
Somewhat.
ultimate cheat food, but
Yeah,
he's
it's
eating
cheat
alfalfa sprouts and other things usually.
Yeah,
Anyway,
most times.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck.
I appreciate you guys. So excited to be here.